There's a saying I once heard, the only true success is to live life on your own terms. And somehow that idea has really stayed with me. So for the past 2 years, I've been trying to figure out what my dream life actually looks like. I mean, not the life I'm supposed to want, but the life I genuinely want to live. And I've been slowly building it in my own way, figuring out what kind of daily routine feels right for me, what I want to surround myself with, and how I want my home to feel. And I guess all these little things add up to the kind of life I want to live. Lately, I've been wanting to give my little apartment a bit of a refresh, so it feels more aligned with the way I live now. Make it more functional, more comfortable, and just a little more inspiring to live in. Good morning, everyone. Nice coffee here. So yeah, anyway, today is finally the day. I am finally starting on my little apartment makeover. My kitchen is honestly just way too small. I mean, you can see it. It's basically just this tiny little space. And there's just not much bench space to work with. So I've been thinking about how I can make better use of this space for the past few weeks. And I'm finally planning to add some joinery along this wall. First, I really need a bit more space in the kitchen for food preparation. And although I love working by the window, the direct sunlight is just way too strong sometimes. So it's not really the most practical place to work. So my plan is to turn this wall behind my sofa into a multifunctional space for food preparation and work area. So here we go. My plan is to have a full wall of floor-to-ceiling joinery. On the left, of course, right next to the kitchen, I'll have a food preparation area. Let's just call it the home bar for now. And on the right will be my study and work area. I'll also have some open shelves along the top, where I can put some of my kitchenware, cups, books, and other little things. Yeah, I think I'm going to be really happy once it's all done. And I'm getting hungry now. I need something to eat. For a long time, I think I had this idea that I needed to create a really exciting life. A life worth talking about. A life that looked good from the outside. But lately I've been realizing that maybe the life I truly want is actually much quieter than that. Maybe it's having a slow morning with nowhere I need to rush to. Making myself something good to eat simply because I feel like it. Having a home that feels so comfortable that I'm happy to spend the whole day here. Being able to work when I want to work, rest when I need to rest, and have enough time for the little things that genuinely make me happy. And I think that's something I've slowly learned over the past few years. Life doesn't have to be extraordinary to be meaningful. Sometimes it's these really ordinary moments that suddenly make you realize, oh, I actually really like my life this way. And maybe that's what I've been trying to create all along. Not a perfect life. Not a life that looks impressive or enviable from the outside. Just a life that feels good to wake up to. A life that truly feels like mine. And I think that's why I've become so much more intentional about the little things. My daily routines, my home, the things I choose to surround myself with, and even how I spend an ordinary morning like this. Because when we start paying attention to these little details, we realize our lives are actually made up of all these small, ordinary moments. And if we can make these little moments feel a little more comfortable, a little more joyful, maybe that's what creating our own dream life is really about. Once I had the design sorted, the next thing I needed to decide is the color of the joinery. I was leaning towards an oak finish, so I brought a few oak samples home from the factory to see how they would look in my space. I wanted the color to work well with my existing kitchen benchtop, and I think Boston oak is probably the closest match. So now I just need to finalize the design drawings, send everything through to the factory, and place the order. I spent a little time finishing up the design drawings, and now I think I need to take a little break. I've spent the whole morning working on my apartment makeover, and now I think it's time to slow down a little. I'm going to finish today's journal and then spend some time reading. I think I've actually fallen in love with journaling. It's a habit I've built over the past 2 years, and it's become such an important part of how I understand myself and find my direction in life. I used to be pretty skeptical about the power of writing things down every day. I didn't really believe that writing down a few thoughts could actually make much of a difference. But now, whenever I look back at some of my old journals, I realize just how much I've changed. Things that once felt confusing and kept going around in my head slowly became clearer. And some feelings that I couldn't quite put into words finally had a place to go. And through writing again and again, I've slowly started to see myself more clearly. I think that's what journaling really means to me. It's a way of getting closer to myself. By the way, I started a new book today, but I'm still trying to get into it. Do you ever feel like starting a new book is almost as hard as starting anything new? Sometimes I have to go back and read the first few pages 2 or 3 times before I finally get into the flow. Okay, I started rearranging the room, moving my desk out of the way and pushing the sofa over. Basically, I needed to clear out the entire wall so I could see how everything would work in the new layout. It's actually pretty interesting how moving just a few pieces of furniture can suddenly make a familiar space feel completely different. But I think that's what change often looks like. We have to allow things to get a little messy before we can slowly create a new sense of order. And honestly, I really enjoy this part of the process. I'm really looking forward to seeing the joinery arrive next week. So the makeover is to be continued. Thank you for watching, take good care, and I'll see you in the next one.